has everybody taken a look at the agenda? Does anyone have any comments or anything they would like to add to the agenda or take out? Any amendments?
Is it possible to screen share the agenda so we can all like go through it
sure.
together?
Oh, there's Maureen. Hi, Maureen.
Hi there,
I see Rondi there. Hi, Rondi.
Oh,
Rondi, Jennifer, Peter.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
And Andrew somewhere.
Oh, there's Judy. Hi, Judy. I'm going to be sending everybody an email with some recent discoveries that Andrew and I made with photos.
Cool.
Just didn't have time to send, but
Is that what you like, Peter? Then you can see the agenda there.
yeah, perfect.
Heritage Register updates. Heritage Week, Commission Work Plan, Lieben, election schedule.
Okay,
Is that okay?
perfect.
And I stopped sharing, or did you want that to continue?
Yeah, what we're seeing on this is something that on the other side of it, it says I compass. Your notes are saved in. We'd probably, yeah, that's really great. Yeah.
Can I stop sharing it now, or you want it there the whole time?
Well, it'd be nice to have it there, like maybe minimize it a little bit, but yeah.
Okay.
So we know where you all are. Very cool.
Melissa, did you want to continue?
Yeah, so if I'm not hearing any amendments, so could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion to accept the agenda.
Thank you. A second.
I'll second it. It's Andrew.
Thank you. And
Hi,
those
Andrew.
in favor?
Bye.
Thank
Aye.
you. It's carried. Okay, and the minutes. Does anybody have any amendments for the minutes?
Well, it isn't amendments. Someone has pointed out to me that you keep referring to the trail between the water and the park as, I can't even remember the name of it, whatever it is.
Princess Alexandra Boardwalk or something?
Yes. Well, it says that Alexander, but it should somehow in there say also in quotation marks the boardwalk, so people know where it is or what it is. Because most people think of it as the boardwalk now, not the Alexander Trail or whatever.
Or promenade or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Is that in the minutes?
I don't think so. Boardwalk. I'll do a scan on the registered text to see if it's in there.
Okay.
Okay. Any more comments on the minutes?
I haven't read them, so I can't comment. It's been too busy.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Maureen. Second? Thanks, Judy. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Carried. Okay, public comments. I don't think we have any public today, do we?
No.
Business arising from the minutes. That's you, Maureen, about the Heritage Register.
Yes, thank you. And I guess we should start off by just congratulating ourselves for getting to this point with the register, and to thank everyone who worked on it, and to thank Jennifer for stick handling it through the council meeting. So,
Here.
yeah, terrific work. Well done. And there was, if you recall, there was a flurry of messages on the day of the council meeting. And in most instances, there were small editorial changes that were needed to the register itself. So I collected all of those and have them ready to be included in the Heritage Registry. So that's that's one of the next steps, which is to do those minor editorial fixes. And we could include Brandy's suggestion in the register as well, if there are any references to the causeway in the register. So I think that the way in which the resolution was framed was ultimately very helpful, in that it established the register, but it also gave us some latitude to change the specific wording of individual items in the register itself. So all of the properties are identified, but if we find there's something wrong with a date or a name, those kinds of changes, my understanding is that we can make them quite readily. So I think after those minor editorial changes are made, and the document is ready to be formatted in the way that all of the other plans are formatted. And I don't think there's any particular urgency with that. It could be corrected if some of you feel there is. I know that Jennifer has February booked to work on her dissertation. So maybe we could just see what things look like by the time we get to March, April, and whether we can pick up that piece of work then. You guys should just ask Jennifer for feedback on that. How does that sound?
That sounds fine with me. I'm going to follow the lead that you all set. I mean, I just asked with Daniel about register updates, and he was just reminding me that I should make sure that you all know that as little edits and changes are made, that we need to always provide a copy back to me so that I can keep a record of the latest version of the register. So yeah, just as any edits are made, we just need to keep track of that, and then we can make sure that all of that's provided on the website and everything. But I'm not quite familiar with which format you're referring to there when you said to
the plan format that's used for things like the climate action strategy or the transportation strategy. So it's
so you want it to be like the plan documents. I think we talked about that before, right? With a cover page and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and a limited number of print copies, but the PDF itself being uploaded on the website.
The other thing is the notification requirements, which have to happen within 30 days of the council resolution. I believe that that's something that I will be doing before I leave.
Right.
Thank you. That's true.
Yes, that's number one on my list of things that need to be done. So I was going to ask if you're kind of okay doing that, and if there's anything you need from us. It would be nice if you already had a boilerplate letter to ready to send to people, but since I hope that no one is going to be surprised, I don't suppose it matters too much. So
all I will need from you all that would be really convenient is the contact information, and this is for mail, physical mail, because we'll need to send it out. Hard to go out as an official letter. So the addresses that I should send to would be great.
Okay.
So just coming back to the editorial, can you send me the current master, Jennifer? Because
master version of the register.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just pass
Although
it
it is, I think, part of that report, but you want it in Word, I assume. That's probably the.
So we can edit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And everybody else on the commission, if there are other changes, if you've read through it and you've realized, oh my God, we botched that piece, then this is the opportunity before it goes into essentially print production to make those changes. And as far as getting contact names and addresses to Jennifer, is there somebody who can do that?
I can do it.
And Jennifer, good luck on your dissertation.
Thank you.
Do you have a date? Do you have a dissertation, like a defense date?
I'm hoping to do it in September.
That's soon. You'll do well.
That's an aggressive date, but I hope I can make it.
More time is never helpful.
Yeah. So that's really all I had to bring up. So Melissa, was there anything more, or Jennifer?
Just anything that you might want to discuss about keeping it up to date, any kinds of discussions like that.
Yeah, I thought there's a couple of things I thought we should add to the work plan, and that would be one of them. Also, we need to figure out where we want to keep it, like, and in what format. Like, do we want to have a copy in the library, or do we want to have a website to do, you know, or so there's that piece. And then I think we also need to do procedures and documents for future applications to the register, and for informing people that that their property's on the register, all of that. I think that's a piece that needs to go in the work plan. Only last question I have, which is a tag onto this, it's themed rather than directly relevant. Where did we get with the tea house thing that we talked about with the Heritage Revitalization Agreement, and they're asking them to consent to be on the register? I can't remember how that was left.
I don't know.
Are you asking me? Because I don't recall that being an item for the register at this time.
That's
Okay.
my understanding as well. I think we discussed holding it in abeyance and adding it to sites for potential consideration in the next phase of
Right.
the register, which would
Right.
include private. That's the Moonwinks, right?
That's it.
That one, it
Yeah.
has the first heritage permit. So what needs to happen next with that is the production of the signage. So the design of the signage would be done by the municipality, was the kind of final agreement that I think is still getting signed. It's been going back and forth. But ultimately, the municipality will be in charge of the site, the design of the sign, and the applicant will be paying for the cost of the sign. So that may come to the commission as well.
So just to add something about that site, because after the walkabout that Andrew and I did a couple of weekends ago, I did a little visit of the Moonwink site because I was interested to see the actual gazebo structure. And what I discovered, and others may have seen this already, is on municipal property, so that's between the fence of the property that Moonwinks is on, and there's another barbed wire fence on the other side. It appears to be a municipal right-of-way or a dedicated right-of-way for access down to Miller's Landing. And within that parameter is a portion of the former landscape of the old Moonwinks house, including a beautiful, in intact condition, stone gate feature. They used to have an iron gate in it, and some other, I went crawling around there because I love doing that kind of thing. And there's all sorts of, there's a pathway that used to be there that's all overgrown. There are retaining walls and garden features. And I thought, wow, this is actually a public property. And wouldn't it be interesting to work maybe with the garden club, or if they continue to exist, or others, or the municipal staff themselves, to unearth this piece of landscaping and re-energize it as a public little kind of pocket public park that had a heritage element to it, because so much of that is still there and it's public, so it's not like it's private property where we worry about agreements with owners. So I'll send some pictures of that along as well, but maybe before we include that in the register, we also include, or at the same time, we include the publicly owned portion of that.
Cool. That's really interesting. So we'll add that to our, bear that in mind with our work plan. Neat. Maureen, you look like you're drafting. Have you drafted your resolution?
No,
Oh.
No. I'm actually trying to access the agenda because
Oh,
I've got a
Well, I
problem.
can share it again. I just.
No. I'd rather see.
Yeah, I can't see anyone's faces. Yeah. Sorry, Peter.
so so Maureen's resolution as it stands is that the Heritage Commission resolved to take the following steps regarding the Community Heritage Register. And so I'm not sure that informing the owners is our responsibility or mandate. Do we need to include that? I think that's probably a staff thing.
It's required under the establishment of the registry, and it would come from, as Jennifer said, she would make sure that the notices were issued within 30 days of the
So
adoption.
shall we say, okay, then number one would be ensure that the owners of the registered properties have been informed.
I'm not sure you have to. I really think we just rely on staff to do that.
Okay, right.
You could say something like provide support to staff who will be notifying the owners or something to
Okay.
imply the provision of addresses and stuff like that. If you want.
We can. Yeah. Then the other thing is review and finalize the text of the statements of significance, I guess, and provide to staff for the website.
Yeah.
And
if we could put a deadline on that, so if people do have changes, if they could get them to me by the 1st of February. I mean, keep it tight because
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
we've gone over this and over this, so these are not substantive changes. They're just
Aside from removing the steamship cottages.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about adding the items to the work plan? That doesn't need to be part of this. Well, it could be part of this resolution. So I think really only part of this resolution is review and finalize the text of the register. I think I would prefer to have provide support to staff to inform the owners, and then
I'll get it on the screen here.
Yeah, and the support we're providing is providing the contact information.
yeah.
Yep.
And I just would like it there so I don't forget. And something about the work plan.
Are you talking about with the work plan? I mean, if it's a reference to the tea house, I mean, that's part of a whole suite of things.
No, not the tea house. Developing a register policy and documentation.
Yeah.
Seems like relevant and
Did you say procedure?
yeah, or something.
Why isn't that formatting?
One thing we may want to add, although I think it's later in the agenda when we look at the work plan, is what are the next steps? And the next steps, I think, we need to look at the existing work plan and see what we haven't done yet. And maybe Jennifer can help us with that. and then also looking forward, what next steps do we want to take in terms of further developing the register. So I think there are probably some tools that like the strategic planning tools. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what we haven't done yet. There's some pieces that still need to be done, and then there's next steps in the register, and I think so filling out or extending the work plan to the research and other work necessary to go to the next stage of the register.
That's further down. The work plan thing is further down in the agenda.
Yeah.
So I
And
think we can,
funding for that and all that. So
yeah. So we can talk about that later. So these are just directly related to the register. So how does that look for our resolution?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Yep.
Okay. So could I have someone to propose it? I forget what you say.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
I'll
Move
second.
it. That's it. Thank
I'll
you very
second.
much. And those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good,
Right.
thank you. Okay, next, updates, stakeholder updates. We don't have a museum and archives person. I did write, I can't find my phone now. I did write to Bowen Heritage, but I haven't heard back. The Hearth, do we have oh, Judy, do you have anything from the Hearth?
Judy, you're on mute.
No, I don't think she is.
Oh, I can't hear.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
So at the last board meeting this past week, we were supposed to be, we ran out of time and we weren't able to get to the cultural plan. But the recommendation is that we keep Lieben on our list of issues. That hasn't been discussed. I'm pretty sure that will be the case, and it continues as an interest as part of the mandate of that cultural plan. So no real discussion about it yet, though. I doubt very much we'll drop it.
Good.
Just could I add to that? If you remember, Councillor Morris mentioned that she had some material on Lieben when we presented the register, and she forwarded it to me. I don't think I forwarded on to the rest of you.
It's all in the agenda, is it? It's fantastic. Is that
it,
all from
it is
Alison?
on the agenda. Oh, excellent. Great.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah. With it, the next thing then is a Metro update. Do you have anything from Metro?
No, the application that they made for the infrastructure grant for $1 million for building restoration, they weren't anticipating a decision before end of January, February, so should be in the decision period. All those COVID grants are getting decided really quickly because they're being viewed as economic stimulus grants. So nothing to update at this point.
Fantastic.
Was this the one that it was beneficial to have the heritage register in place?
That's exactly.
And so they're aware. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they forwarded that information to the granting body as soon as they were able to.
Perfect.
Excellent. Next is new business. So part of the reason why we have got this meeting together quickly is to talk about Heritage Week, which is obviously a little bit different because of COVID. It's 15th to 21st. The theme is where do you find heritage, I think, something like that.
It's a great theme for Bowen, I think, because
yeah.
My fridge? Sorry.
I did a quick no, I did a quick scan of to see if I could find what other groups are doing, and you know, most places I found last year's heritage agenda. I think people are just overwhelmed with COVID, and nobody seems to be planning very much at all. Vancouver Heritage, I forget what the group is called. They have some things on. They have a couple of webinars, three, I think. Not webinars, but virtual offerings. Um, Even Heritage BC doesn't really have anything to offer that week. So that tells me two things. One is that we needn't worry too much about setting a very high bar for ourselves, and also that I don't have much to tell you about many ideas for for what we could do. In terms of the virtual thing, I did wonder if the people with the shadow puppets might like to play their videos. That was as far as the ideas, pretty much as far as the ideas I had, and also that we should perhaps take it as an opportunity to advertise the register, not really advertise, but you know. So what does any, I'd like to hear from everybody else because I don't have any more inspiration.
In terms of advertising the register, this might be an opportunity to say, hey, council just approved the register. Here's the sites that are on the first iteration of the register, and guess what? This year's Heritage BC theme is, where do you find heritage? And so in keeping with that theme, we're asking Bowen Island president and former residents to tell us what other places on Bowen Island. We've done this once before as part of the engagement, but it might be an opportunity to re-engage and just to have something out there for people to let us know what other things they might want to put forward, and we might catch some stuff that we didn't on the first round.
Would it be
We advertise
possible?
the inventory.
Yeah, we would advertise the inventory and at the same time say, and partly as a way to celebrate what we've done, but then also as a kind of stimulating thing to stimulate further discussion on what else might be added going forward.
Would it be possible to reactivate the heritage section of Citizen Lab?
Yeah, that's possible. We still have Citizen Lab up and going, and it's there.
So if we put a new prompt in Citizen Lab and we monitored it, I think Melissa and I did that the last time. It wasn't onerous, and there was some discussion. It moved over to social media rather than staying there, but at least heritage was sort of a theme during the week. I also spoke with Sophie Itzinger before this meeting, and she said she's got lots of photographs left from last Heritage Week, when, if you remember, she did a photo and a story a day and pumped it out through municipal social media. So she's happy to do that again.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
And if you are going to ask people once again to give their feedback, you may want to think about also including some statement about the feedback you got last time and what happened with that, so that people feel like, there's a reason to be engaged in the process.
And then we could include that as part of the engagement of future phases of the register, to say, we did engage in Heritage Week 2021 and we got this input.
Yeah. I think that would be ample. And it also would not be difficult, I think.
Is the Undercurrent publishing anything this year?
Don't know.
They don't publish anything unless you give them something to publish. You got to write it up for them.
In other years, they've asked, and they've included the historians and Bowen Heritage to try and come up with we used to do as much as the centerfold, 4 pages. So
Is
If they're keen, then we've got space.
that something you could follow up on, Judy? Would you be interested in like writing an article for them on the register?
I can ask if they've got any, well, yeah.
I mean, if they're doing something, then it would be nice to contribute. And if they're not doing something,
Give them something.
yeah, I guess see what happens.
They welcome the content usually.
If I did something like that triangular graphic that Jennifer used, we got from that workshop, that's very helpful. And then just explain what's in the register and then possibly what's in the inventory.
I don't know about the inventory.
Yeah.
That feels premature.
I agree. It's at the moment the inventory is just a holding pen for everything that we thought of. It's not something we formally reviewed or given careful consideration. I wouldn't like to go crazy and find there's some landmines in there that we haven't thought about.
But the concept of the inventory.
The
could be
concept of the
discussed.
inventory.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically the piece where we ask the public to contribute. So we're building an inventory.
And particularly
Right.
pieces that the public supported last time, like the Little Red Church, which came up a couple of times. You may want to think about just saying that has been included or added to the list of inventory items or something like that, so that people understand that they were heard last time.
So if we're already posting content online saying, yay, the inventory has been approved, or the register, I should say, has been approved by council, and here's what's on it. Maybe we could also enlist the undercurrent to also repeat what we've been saying online is that please let us know if there's any other places of importance to you on Bowen Island that we should be looking at to start adding to our knowledge of what's out there that might be on future inventories or registers.
Or just tell part of our story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. Is that all we need? Maureen, you'll speak to Sophie.
Yeah, I spoke to her. She'll be your app.
Jennifer, you reactivate the Citizen Lab. Maureen, would you mind drafting the response that Jennifer was suggesting?
Also, if I'm not able to get to it before I leave for my vacation, Sophie can also reactivate. She has all of that permission.
She knows how to.
She's been using it for other communications.
Oh,
and
okay,
she was also an admin last time we did it, so
Okay.
just in case something happens.
Yeah. So the piece that you're asking about, Melissa, is just a little introductory. It's the preamble.
Yeah, Jennifer, I guess, yeah, just to maybe just review the preamble and add in that we've adopted the register, I guess. And what Jennifer was saying is to say, here's what happened to what you said last time, Yeah. You're not shouting into the abyss, I suppose.
There should be some alignment between that and what Judy might be writing for the undercurrent. So we should coordinate, make sure we're on the same page with what we're saying.
Good plan.
One other thing too, I noticed when I was putting together my report for council that I didn't have any photographs of any of the Heritage Week activities from last time. And I think there were people that took pictures. I don't know if it's people that are on the commission and they were going to send me the photos they had taken or what, but I just remember some people were taking pictures. So if you have any pictures of those, it would be good to have them for our records.
Was that in Heritage Week last year?
Yeah.
So like I'm referring to things like the Legion lunch and the walks and the little session that we did with the puppetry folks.
Yeah.
Those things. If anybody took any pictures,
Okay.
it would be good to have those.
I think your wife took some pictures, Peter.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And
I remember her with the camera.
I'll talk to Carol because I wasn't taking pictures while I was leading the tour, but I imagine Carol may have. So yeah, I'll let her know.
Great.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Okay.
So we're on the work plan. Do
Yeah.
you want me to share the screen?
So our next yeah, you could do actually. Can you share the screen of the work plan? So the next two items in the work plan are basically draft the strategic plan, and what was the last one?
Where am I going?
There's also one holdover item from phase 2, the draft strategies 2.4. That didn't really happen.
Draft strategies.
How is that different from the strategic plan?
Well, I believe that conceptually draft strategies was like a list of possible strategies, and then the heritage strategic plan is like how they fit all together into a structure.
I see what you mean. So like a heritage revitalization agreement strategy or something.
So the tools.
Yeah, the tools.
Well, or even just a list of possible strategies to use. It was supposed to just be like the first step of making the plan, in particular, because at that time we were doing engagement. So remember how in Citizen Lab we had some strategies that we invited the public to talk about. So it was kind of related to that. And we did have some strategies on there, like various incentives and things. But we didn't really get a lot of public feedback on particular strategies. But so, yeah, that was just the one item that didn't really get like tied up into a nice bow that would be pulled into phase 3.
Okay.
And then I guess we should start talking about phase 4, 5, or is that premature? But it looks like that we could be doing some things in parallel with the orange phase 3 plan. So we could be working on a strategic plan, but we might also want to be starting to research and look at sites and write-ups for sites for the next phase of the register. And then the question would also be whether there's a funding ask from council for help doing that, because the potential sites island-wide could be a lot more than just the 10 sites on the current register, and probably with less profile, it might be harder research. So there's probably a pretty big time-consuming research piece involved in that, and maybe professional review of those statements of use. I don't know for sure about that, but or maybe there's a piece for the museum and archives to seek a grant application to hire a summer student to do some of that work in the archives, if there's no budget to provide that from council.
A couple of things.
Think about an approach to signage as well. If you're thinking of having kind of a standard format, so that when the Moonwinks signage goes in, it might be closer to that standard. If you have some kind of a approach that you want to take.
So I guess we're talking about signage for the 10 approved register sites and any other site like Moonwinks that might have some other form of protection, like a covenant or whatever.
Can I just hear what Maureen was going to say?
Yeah, we need an update on the expenditures on this project to know where we stand. I'm not clear, and that would need to come from you, Jennifer. And those the options that we looked at included the staff time on this project. So we have to be careful about what we have that's approved and what isn't approved at this point, and how much we have that carries over from last year. We've got some money in incidentals for phase 3, but I don't know the detail of what was spent in the earlier phases.
I was going to suggest that we might want to think about having a workshop to rough out the draft strategic plan. And now, having given this a little bit more thought, I'm thinking maybe we need to do some research before we get to that point. I kind of feel like before we start looking at adding to the register, I kind of feel like we should finish figuring out what the heritage strategy is going to be with. I think there's a suggestion that it would be like a 5-year plan, which would include, considering more places for the register, developing the inventory, but it would also include I guess it could include developing some of these tools. So maybe we could just workshop it. Can you workshop in a meeting or no?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So maybe that's what we should do. Workshop it in a meeting, like figure out what all the pieces are and figure out some timelines on that. And then we could move forward from there. Is that I feel like I'm totally rambling, and that's because I'm thinking it at the in the moment. What do people think, Judy?
I suggest that we've got the inventory, and if we did a review of the inventory and maybe tried to prioritize, we'd have some idea of what needs the research in terms of statements of significance, what needs the research in terms of the involvement of owners and the community, and we'd have some idea of the extent of it and whether or not we've got certain areas of the island that haven't been covered and that we need to get more local input. But I think if we started with a basic review of everything that's in the inventory, then we can figure out what we need the research, and once we can prioritize, we can figure out how to do the research, and that's moving forward. In terms of figuring out what needs to be completed for the register that we've just had passed, it seems to me that it's public information and signage, basically. That we've done the statements of significance. There's maybe a little bit of tidying up, but that research has been completed.
I agree with Judy that we need part of the plan is going forward is not only to identify sites, but also to get engage with the owners of those sites, to bring them up to date on what we've been doing and to get their understanding of what we're trying to do, so that we have their blessing or not, understand where we do and we don't have that. So that would be part of a strategic plan. I seem to recall earlier on in our process, we had copies of heritage strategic plans that might have been done by other municipalities. And so we might want to see, just in terms of rather than reinventing the wheel, what's in those strategic plans. And it probably includes stuff around tools and bylaws and other things as well. Yeah.
I guess, and that's kind of where I'm at with that, is I kind of feel like we need to do the high level planning before we get into the nuts and bolts of expanding the register and expanding the inventory and doing all of that research. I kind of feel like the plan piece needs to be thought about. When I think about the terms of reference and our purpose, there's also things like the signage that we've already talked about. There's promoting heritage and heritage awareness. And so I kind of feel like I would like to take stock of that whole thing. I also feel like there's some, one of the pieces that we've just talked about. So there's like register, inventory, signage, other types of heritage promotion, and then also the policy and kind of the documentation piece is the, heritage incentive tools and things. I think it's really is time that we thought about those before we start. I kind of feel like we need to be on our way with thinking about those before we start asking people about being on the register. We need to have more clarity for them about what heritage policy is about. Like, what are they signing up for? And I also really feel like we need to get this documentation that we should have that goes with the register, which is like a letter to the owner, like the, nice pieces of paper. This is what it means to be on a register. This is what we're asking of you. Like, really easy to read, like, because we've done all of our public properties now, and we would be moving into private properties. And so we have to get that communication piece right. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of thinking we need to figure out how we're going to develop all of those 5 or 6 pieces. And then once we've got a plan and we've got our timelines and things, we can start moving forward with them all. And maybe we break up into committees to deal with some of the separate bits, just to make sure that we're bringing them all along at the same time, rather than being absorbed in the research right now. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I guess all I'm saying, Melissa, and I agree with you. I think that, well, it'll be a real help once we have a strategic plan in place. It'll really be a help to Jennifer in terms of drafting the next steps, the next phases of the work plan. Because if all of the content is there in the strategic plan, I'm sure Jennifer can help with that, then we're going to be really, it's really going to help us to work on the work program. But I guess all I'm saying is there's no reason research can't be happening behind the scenes. And in order to avoid too much delay going down the road, if there's research and other work happening in parallel, then we'll have that body of work available to us rather than saying everything has to be done in series. Because once we get the strategic plan in place, okay, now we're going to do some research. Well, maybe things can happen in tandem.
Yeah, for sure.
I also want to bring up that the consultant that we brought in, Don Luxton, was really encouraging us to have a standardized assessment for those items that we would be considering to add to the register, and provided us with all those forms. So all that information is available in the phase 1 packet. So presumably that would be considered for possible inclusion in the Heritage Strategic Plan as well.
Yeah.
I remember Dawn Luxton saying that really it was more important to have a heritage management plan than even a heritage strategic plan. And we shouldn't lose that comment. I think the heritage management plan is the piece of the strategic plan that relates to tools and and procedures.
Right. Okay. What is the decision that is before us? What next? Is that it?
I think you had brought up the notion of having a workshop.
At the next meeting.
Yeah. So maybe what's prior to that is developing a bit of an agenda.
Yeah.
So that people can come to the workshop and use their time effectively, having thought through a number of things beforehand.
Yeah. Okay, so then how about this? That we will workshop at the next meeting, and as Maureen suggests, in the meantime, perhaps if I send an email to everybody, and they can send their comments about what they think should be on that agenda, and we'll work that through in time for the next meeting.
Melissa, are you able to circulate those other strategic plans that we have, or just who has those they could circulate to us before the workshop?
They would all be included in prior agendas of the commission. Off the top of my head, I don't know which agendas.
Do you mean
I
strategic?
have them, the example plans. Yeah, I have them
Yeah.
over here. I don't know what's the best way to get them to. I could zip them. There's quite a few.
Can you put them on the internet, or they're probably already there? Can you link? I think that would be better.
We can post them to the Heritage Commission page if they're not already
Yeah.
there. They're public, right?
Yeah.
Steph, do you know where that folder is that has those? I can send you a link or something. It's in the J drive. Do you have access to
Oh,
it?
no, they're already, you guys. So on the Heritage Commission page, BC Heritage Branch.
Although I
District of
think
West
they're on that page, we selected a few that we thought were particularly relevant. I have a larger database
Okay.
for my own research. So I don't know if you want all of them or if the ones that you had selected before are what you're looking for.
Peter, do you want all of them? Do you want to see what I've got here? I'll do another share of these. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't the strategic plans.
Sorry?
Those aren't strategic plans.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So do you send me the pathway, please, Jen?
Yes.
And I will post them.
Let's see.
Yeah. What those were, Steph, those were the registers from other communities,
Right.
but not necessarily their plan.
Right.
And also some government bump.
Okay, so then if Steph, if you could send me, Jen, send it to Steph, send it to me. I will write an email and circulate it to everybody. How's that?
Sounds complicated.
Yeah, I seem to recall, for example, Tofino may have had a heritage strategic plan, for example.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I have. There's 14 documents here. I think
So Jen's just
14
sending me
documents.
that like a pathway to our internal server.
14 sounds like too many.
Yeah. Nobody's going to read that many.
Do you remember? You don't remember which ones we liked?
We could divide them up.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You also don't have to read all
Actually,
15
and
of
Jen,
them. You can just skim a little bit and decide if it's useful or not.
can you move them to the common drive, Jen? I don't have access to planning.
Is there a heritage folder in the common drive? I'm happy to move it wherever you like.
I can make one. There's a planning folder. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'll make it within the planning folder in common drive. Okay.
So we're good?
Okay, so does that sound like a plan to everybody? And I'm not sure what to say about starting to research properties because I'm not sure where one would start with that right now.
Maybe that's something we could leave with Peter. Peter, because you're keen to begin that. What if you gave it a wee bit of thought as to how you would do that, and then bring that to the workshop and say, here's my plan. for beginning the research that would feed into subsequent phases, and we could use that as a starting point for discussion.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not volunteering to do all this research because research
No,
is
no.
extremely time consuming.
Understand.
But certainly I can share some thoughts on how, I mean, any of us can voluntarily go and do stuff. Yeah, it's a free world. But in terms of what some of the key steps and things that we would need to include in that, yeah, I can certainly think that through.
Excellent. Okay.
It took a lot of time to do the statements of significance when we started that process a million years ago with Bowen Heritage. And it seemed to work best if we chose one location, like the Little Red Church, for instance, and people, divided it up in terms of finding the photographs and, taking dimensions and describing the building and figuring out all the different things that might be heritage features that should be highlighted. And, we could maybe get some help from maybe get some help from the historians and on all of those parts of it. So if we can figure out, what the game plan is going to be in terms of slowly adding to, and then I guess it goes back to figuring out what's on the inventory and what we want to prioritize.
Yeah.
In terms of eventually including.
Yeah.
We can also go to the church. I'm sure they would like to give us a lot of history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm sure they've got records, lots of records.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be very proud to be on the historical road.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And while Marion's still alive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that sounds good. Okay.
And we don't
And-
have moonwings on the register yet either. So
You don't have what? Moonwings? Did you say?
Moonwings, yeah. So that would be part of it.
That would be
Also, Jack Little spent a lot of time doing research at the archives, and I guess Kathy Bailey's done a fair amount as well. But I'd hate to assume that we could rely on Kathy to do a whole lot of stuff. So part of what we need to think about is who's going to be doing this.
Yeah. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. I don't think we need to resolve anything about that. I think that's a plan about the plan. So I think we can move on to these extremely interesting documents, which are towards the end of the agenda, which Maureen brought, which I think she said are from Alison Morse. It's funny because I was reading them and I thought they look antique, and then I realized that that's when Jonah was born, so they're not that old.
Old as Jonah.
I know, he's not wrinkly yet.
So I don't actually have that much to say about them at this point. I just wanted to make sure that we were aware that this compilation of material existed, because we've talked about it, I think, in the past and never got our mitts on it, as far as I can recall.
Are these confidential?
No.
So would it be useful to put this on the page along with the other documents? Or is that too public?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's valuable for us.
Yeah.
I just feel like things get lost.
I know. Yeah. Well, you got to go
Stuff gets
find the
lost.
agenda, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we should be building up a library of stuff for the commission to refer to.
Maybe that's another thing for the work plan. So I just wanted to ask, do you know what happened? Because I don't know if anybody's looked at these documents, but basically the Islands Trust was asked to ask the province if have the Lieben property because it's consistent with the trust's mandate, and also Parks and Trails agreed that they would take it on. That's, I mean, but do you know, Maureen, what happened to the Islands Trust? Did they just write a letter and nobody wrote back and then it kind of got lost, or?
I don't know. I don't know the detail. It's something that we could ask them. I mean, a request to transfer the land, I don't think necessarily would be well received. And the commitment of Parks and Trails to look after property of that size. I mean,
And
it's a
steepness.
municipal committee with all of the feasibility of them taking responsibility for the land might have been questioned. So I don't know what comes after this.
Does it change things now to be able to say that Lieben is now on a municipal register, and maybe it's worth revisiting this now that it is?
Well, I think the questions about, you know, and then what would be come to the forefront. Yes, it's on a municipal registry. If it were transferred to the municipality, which I guess is what, I mean, is that the goal?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, there was some discussion about if it's Crown land, maybe that it should be not necessarily transferred to the municipality, but transferred into some kind of provincial trust that would preserve its status until we did figure out what to do, so that it wouldn't, you know, could it be sold off, for example, for timber rights or some other, or for private use that would not preserve the site as it currently is.
So some kind of protected status.
Yeah.
Necessarily ownership transfer.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the tricks around the having the Islands Trust Foundation go in was that the request in the bequest was that it be a nature preserve, so that that would limit probably access to it in terms of any kind of a historic site that might have any tourism links or any other use, so that it would protect it, so that it would be safer from, you know, just being amongst the general population in the provincial crown land, but it would limit the uses of it as well. So that was one of the problems that came up with respect to the foundation. There was something in the Gresco files about how it all fell apart, and I think it was a problem in terms of getting the foundation to actually assess it and decide whether or not it was something that they. I can't really remember, but I think there was something in there, and that was the whole thing in terms of wanting the details from Kathy Dunster's files too, that we haven't got.
Also, as a nature preserve, would that then require that any remaining vestiges of the site of human construction be removed, because that's not, you know, nature preserve? So yeah.
So if we're going to get into details about Lieben, I think that we have to be pretty clear in terms of what the limitations are and where we pursue them.
So perhaps then we just receive this material for the time being, and discussion about Lieben is for perhaps another meeting. I mean, we're going to write to them and tell them that it's on the register. At some point, we need to write to them and say, you know, you seem to have forgotten to protect this piece of land. You've forgotten what it's for and where it's from. But
so as an action item, would that be for us to craft such a letter and bring it back to a future meeting of the commission for review and approval?
I'd be more comfortable leaving it at the notification that Jennifer is going to provide as part of the completing the work on the registry, and not going beyond that at this point. Notifying them that it's on the registry may actually trigger some sort of response from the province. So
Yeah,
I
I can live with it.
don't think we should get ahead of ourselves, is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. I was going to say, actually, as part of the previous point, that with respect to the register, we've just established it. We also should allow a little bit of time for people to respond to that before we get, you know, too far into the next phase of that. Anyway, so the next thing on the agenda is elections and schedule. Is that schedule of meetings? Steph's vanished.
Sorry, just turn the heat up. Yeah, it's just part of January routine.
Right.
Have to set a schedule, but this would be the time if you did want to do that.
So how do we do the election of a chair? It's a bit of an odd thing to do as a chair.
You call for nominations.
Okay.
So
Are there any nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Melissa.
I'd like to nominate Maureen.
Yeah.
Are we still doing co-chairs?
We can. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you ask twice more, Melissa, if there are any
Oh.
other nominations.
Any nominations for chair? And third and final, any nominations for chair?
I'll nominate him.
Nominate who?
Thank you,
Chair.
Randy. And then what next? Do we vote?
Who are you nominating, Randy?
Oh, I was joking.
Oh. And then you call the question that the Heritage Commission elect Melissa Harrison and Councillor Maureen Nicholson as co-chairs.
Do I have to say that? That the commission elects Melissa Harrison, myself, and Maureen Nicholson as co-chairs. And do I need that to be
I think you need to say all in favor.
Yeah, I think so, because you don't need a motion because we've just done that bit, right? So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. Do we need a vice chair?
I think you have two co-chairs that will suffice.
Yeah, I don't really need a vice chair. And then meeting schedule, is that a meeting schedule?
So that if you wanted to decide on your dates for the rest of the year, you can.
Yeah.
Do that. You don't have to. You did it a couple years ago.
Yep. We didn't follow it though.
So the other option is just to do doodle polls.
Yeah, which is a drag for Steph. I think
I'll come around to it. It's a bit of work, but
I mean we could do a quarterly schedule. Seems to be about the rhythm of the commission. So we could set some quarterly dates right now. Do we want to do that? But if we need more meetings, we can add them in.
Or could we just say that the commission will meet quarterly dates to be determined by doodle poll?
How do people feel? I mean, for me, like if it's in my diary, then I don't book it. But I'm also happy to do doodle poll.
so this is a Tuesday. You used to meet on Thursdays. So quarterly is 3 months. One.
I have a question. If we set quarterly dates, we can always amend those dates
For sure.
as needed, right?
Yeah. So end of April,
Sure.
or let's say,
For the workshop?
Yeah. Do you want it to be sooner? Should we do it sooner?
so
March.
just all of
See,
February.
look, it doesn't work. We're just too go with the flow. Like we can't do quarterly schedule.
Laid back heritage people. Jen, are you gone for all of February? So
Let's book a meeting for the end of March, and the rest of 2021 we'll take it as it comes.
so the last 2 weeks of March are spring break.
Okay.
Affect you.
And then Easter is like the 3rd or something.
I don't know what it is.
Who's going to Hawaii?
Hopefully no one.
So what about Tuesday, April 6th?
Sure. Does that work for everyone?
What was that again?
Tuesday, April 6th.
Or Wednesday, April?
Let me just check my calendar.
At what time? At 1, at 5, at what?
Can people meet at 1?
I would
Tuesdays,
prefer
okay.
to meet outside of my normal work hours. I can make it available, but that would be ideal.
So does 5 work for you, Peter?
Yes.
Does 5 work for everyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
What day of the week is it now? Now that it's outside of office hours.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Is April 6th too late, Maureen?
No, I don't think so.
I'm happy to do it in the spring break. I mean, every day's the same these days, so.
This is outside of the question of the workshop, right? We were planning to have the workshop earlier, or is that going to be the workshop day?
Well, it'd be
That would
good
be
to
the-
have Jennifer at the workshop, and she's gone all of February.
Yeah. Oh, I'm okay with it.
So,
Yeah.
so what happened to say like March 10th?
That's possible. But not at 5. I can't do 5.
Can you do a lunch hour, Peter?
Um,
You like to end your day with heritage people?
yeah. Just a sec here. You know, March 10 is not a good day. I'm in a workshop. Workshop from like 9:30 till 5 the whole day, related to Vancouver plan. Actually, it's a council date, so that's not the only time that would be good.
Okay, you know what? I'm seeing that. I think we're going to do a doodle poll. I'm clear. But we're looking at the kind of the give Jen a chance to get back. So sort of 2nd
Yeah, I think so.
of March.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking. Okay, would you mind doing that, please, Steph?
That's okay. No, that's fine. No worries.
Maybe do it soon, and then Jen can respond, and you know, we get it in our diaries.
Okay.
Okay. What's next? Oh, information items, and the list of one thing which has the potential heritage sites, which is the
Yeah, the list of one.
yeah, the beach one, the Yamada family homestead, and oh, so it says Heritage Commission web page is the last item. I don't know who is somebody talking about that.
Nope, I just provide it. If
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's just there
Right.
for you guys to.
Well,
I
then
guess-
think
I
yes,
was just
Peter?
going to, Steph, when you provided that, I took a look at it thinking that maybe there was some question about whether we should be adding to it or enhancing it, or, you know, is it doing what it should be doing, kind of thing. And that may be something we look at in the future, but probably not today.
Well, I'll be adding all those plans to it.
My
Steph-
understanding is that there is a website redesign that may be funded this year. Is this something you're aware of, Steph?
Vaguely.
Yeah. So if there's a website redesign in the wings, then maybe what we should be doing is thinking about functionality that we would like in a new website design, rather than putting effort into redesigning what, or reorganizing what we've got at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something else maybe for that. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I just have a question, Steph. Do you know how many people we're supposed to have on the commission, or what the it's
Yes. So that, and where it's a little problematic because a key part of the membership, I think, is to be drawing in from other sources,
I want, yeah, I want
all
to,
together in one room.
yeah.
And it seemed to be happening less. So 10 voting members, 1 councillor, 3 members of Heritage Preservation Association, 3 museum archives, 3 from the community at large.
Sorry,
So we
3
have-
Bowen Heritage, 3 Museum and Archives. What was the last 3? 3.
Anyone?
Not an Arts Council one.
No, but it felt like, I know it feels like that the Arts Council was becoming relevant. So I include them in the updates.
Well, totally. They have a heritage.
Yeah.
Mandate.
It's not part of the terms of reference, but
Are
Yeah.
those the current terms that you're looking at? I think there was a modification. Maybe.
the modification was just a typo that they had, I think they said 7 members, but they'd actually listed out all 10.
Okay.
So it was just a 1-line, 1-word typo. That was consolidated.
I wonder if we could review. I think maybe we should review the terms of reference at the next meeting. Could you put that on your magic list of agenda items for future meetings? And maybe we'll ask council to change that a little, because I feel like we could do with some more troops.
Do we have vacancy on the commission?
Yes.
How many seats?
So just a sec.
1 museum and archives, and 3 members of the public, I think, 4. Is that right?
I'm just sorry, I've got so many. So we have 1. Yeah, so you are listed as Heritage, Michelle, or Melissa, sorry.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure how active
Yeah,
that is anymore.
and Peter too.
And Peter is listed as Heritage, yes.
Yeah.
And is that active as well? Is that a true story?
Yeah, we were originally nominated by the.
And then Andrew and Monica are Museum and Archives.
Yeah.
So those we can have 1 more from each of those institutions.
Right.
And then Judy and Rondi are members at large. We can have 1 more from that institution. So 1 from each of those 3 categories.
So we should be thinking about who?
People who like to do research.
Museum and archives have more than a couple of people there, though? Are we kind of asking them to send their whole contingency?
I think we should ask if council could take 1 off Bowen Heritage, 1 off Museum and Archives, give 1 to the Arts Council, at least 1, and then, have more members of the public options, so we can have a bigger pool. Not that everybody isn't members of all of those groups, but groups don't have the organizational capacity to nominate anybody. That's the problem.
I wonder if to fill one of the at-large positions, we might consider somebody who's currently an owner of a heritage property, which would help give us, some insight into the next phases as we go forward. I know Rondi owns some buildings that could be heritage registered properties going forward, but it might be good to have somebody else in our fold that we bring along and can provide us the headspace of
Yeah.
a private owner on the commission.
Well, if everybody could just give that a little bit of idle thought between now and the next meeting, and we can talk about it in detail then. We shouldn't really be talking about it too much now, I guess, because it's not on the agenda. All right. Well, I think we're kind of done, aren't we?
So,
So for next agenda, I've got this revised terms of reference. Oh, that's good. Shopping. And you're workshopping the work plan?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Nice to see
so
you.
if people could think about other people to have on the commission, and if they could think about what the agenda might look like for that work plan, that would be fantastic. And at some point in the next week or so, I'll circulate an email while it's all fresh in everybody's minds.
Perfect.
So motion to adjourn, please.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Randy. And with that, good night, everyone.
night. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
All right.